Okay, my name is Brad Haeck, and I grew up in Plymouth, Indiana. I had a twin brother and an older brother, and we were always involved in sports. Just kind of grew up and were always involved in something, whether it be soccer or Little League baseball or basketball or whatever. And just my dad had been an athlete at Plymouth and played basketball, and actually basketball and track. I'm not sure if he did any other sports or not, but ended up going to Grace College and was a collegiate basketball player there. And so I was kind of had at least a parent around that was excited about sports and wanted us to do sports. And so my brothers and I always kind of were involved with something, and then we kind of eventually just like every other kid, they try a lot of things and they find what they like. And tennis was actually something that neither of my parents had played before, and just kind of picked it up and played a few summers when I was younger and liked it, and ended up kind of getting more involved in the summers as I got into kind of junior high, high school age, and really tennis was kind of my forte as far as athletically what I did the best at and what I enjoyed the most. So. My older brother did some sports and then didn't end up he wasn't the most athletic, so he actually ended up being a manager for 3 sports in high school. So I didn't have a bunch of rivalries with him, but my twin brother and I obviously were involved in a lot of things growing up, always together. But he was always bigger and stronger, and I was always a little faster than him. But so we had some rivalries in some different sports that we played together, but got to be a little cutthroat at times. But we kind of eventually ended up not really even playing any of the same, sports. But he was a football, basketball player in high school, and we both played baseball growing up, but didn't end up playing baseball in high school and soccer as well. But I couldn't play soccer because it was the same season as tennis, and I enjoyed tennis more. So, but as far as the rivalries, I think we get to high school, you always have that little bit of the sibling support, criticism, I guess. But I remember baseball just one year, we won the tournament at the end of the year, and my brother and I were on the same team, and kind of a late night. And then actually my dad, the 3 of us went up, we were on family vacation, and the rest of my family had already went up, and we finished playing the tournament, and we ended up winning, and so we got to take our trophies up there and celebrate up to Michigan for family vacation. But that was one that kind of sticks out in my mind. I said I played some tennis growing up, but I played probably even more other sports than tennis until I kind of found that I really loved tennis more. There's some soccer memories and different things, but basketball camps. I do remember kind of going to basketball camp. We went to Grace College basketball camp several summers and made some new friends there from different places, and then just the Plymouth basketball camps. I remember getting on a bus in the summer and going, I think it was North Judson and some other places to play games against other towns and things like that in the summer. So I do remember some. When I was, basketball was probably my most fun to watch. So Michael Delp and Michael Edison were the 2 big ones and there were some other ones before that even, but those were the 2 main ones kind of when I got a little bit older. And it's actually funny because I've become pretty good friends with them, even though they're 4 and 5 years older than me, but they were kind of in that high school when I was late elementary, junior high kind of grades, so I kind of came after them. But those were the 2 that I always remembered that I kind of looked up to in a way. Like I said, I probably even followed basketball even a little bit more growing up, at least, to in that aspect. So, but I did, know that both Michaels had played. I think Michael Edison only played his freshman year, and then Michael Delp played all the way through. But they were both on the team. 90, what year would that have been? 94 maybe. They went to state. And for the only time we've had a boys or a girls team that made the state in tennis, and I believe it was 94. But I do kind of have very vague memories of that. But like I said, I wasn't. I was more into the basketball at that point. I don't have a specific first memory. I guess my freshman year, I came out and I wasn't. I said, I played a little bit in the summer and stuff, but I really hadn't invested a ton of time or as much as other people in my grade had. So I was a little bit lower on the totem pole. So I was just a lower level JV player, but I looked up to some of even the seniors on that team, Brian Garriott, and some of those kind of, I'm trying to think of who else were the other seniors, but I remember Garriott, and then we had a couple guys that were in my class that were freshmen that were playing varsity then, Tim Flory, Jeff Garriott, both varsity players there as well. So, gosh, my memory escapes me now, but Brian Garriott was the one I always remembered as our one singles player then. But just kind of remember being a scrawny little freshman and I don't want to say trying to impress people, but trying to get better every day and not make myself look bad, I guess. But I had a lot of improvement to do, and I think it was before my 8th grade year where I kind of came out and really put some time in the summer. And like I said, I was a little bit behind everybody else in my grade at that point, or the high school kids at that point, but I just really liked it. And I liked some other sports, but maybe it was a sport where, hey, I've got a chance that I could potentially be good at this, even though I didn't end up ever being an all-star or whatever. But I put a lot of time in kind of 8th grade, freshman year, and then we had a lot of guys graduate that my freshman year, and had a lot of spots opened up. And then I was, I think, a 1 JV singles player with some varsity matches my sophomore year. So got a little taste of it then, and then at that point I kind of even committed a little bit more time in the summer and playing some matches and tournament here or there or something. But just, our summer program has just been awesome for so long, with Mary Beth Hunter running it, and then Michael Delp the last 20 or so years or whatever. But it just gives so many people an opportunity so inexpensively as well to just get out on the courts and put a lot of time in, and you're also learning from some of the best too, when you're talking about a Mary Beth Hunter, or Al Flory was my coach then my sophomore year on through high school, and then Michael Delp has kind of taken over after he's been back from college at Taylor, and he kind of took over the boys program and the summer program. And as successful as our summer program has been, I think that's helped out our high school program so much and the success that we've had. Well, I don't know if I ever got to where I felt like I arrived or anything, but I was a 2 and 3, kind of split half the year between 2 and 3 singles my junior year. And then my senior year I played 2 doubles, varsity, and felt like we had a returning 1 doubles team that had a lot of success the year before, and they were both the same age as me, so they were both going into their senior year, and felt like I could play at that spot. And that was kind of what I had worked for in the summer and improved. But ultimately, our coach decided, hey, I think the best way we can you can help our team win is to play 2 doubles, and I kind of saw that as I was a little disappointed in that. But I'm like, and I'm not going to brag about it, but I've just always been so big into team. And even as a coach, it's hard in a individual sport, so to speak. Like tennis is more of an individual than a team, but I've always, even as a coach over the years, I've always just tried to stress the team. And I've never, once made a decision on a lineup that I felt like was in the best interest of an individual over the team. And I just, even going back then to remembering kind of even my coach talking to me, when he's trying to decide the lineup, and hey, I need you to buy into this, and if it's what you want me to do, I'll do it. And of course I even, saw, hey, with the way our conference is set up, if you win your conference spot at 2 doubles, you get all conference. And that ended up being what happened with us. And actually played with Adam Delp, Michael Delp's younger brother. And he was a freshman, I was a senior. He was a talented freshman, and got an opportunity to play with him at 2 doubles, and we had a really good year. And so I kind of almost thought, a little bit of, hey, maybe I could almost even have a little bit more success. Maybe I'm not playing out of one spot, but individually as far as a record or being able to get all conference and things like that. And that is kind of how it worked out, where we ended up getting all conference as a 2 doubles team. And so I was excited for that as well. Well, even learning it as a player and then now as a coach for so long, we always get a lot of good athletes, and maybe they haven't put as much time in as some other our singles players have, or other individuals, and so we need kind of some of those individuals that have put that more time and effort or whatever into playing on those singles courts. But we've always done a really good job just putting some athletes together, and we're going to get you on a doubles court and use your athleticism really well. And the way I learned growing up, the way we've always taught it ever since I can ever remember at Plymouth doubles is we're going to be aggressive, and we're going to get to the net, and we're going to move forward and take balls on the rise and try to volley anytime we can instead of hitting ground strokes, and kind of make it more of an athletic kind of game, and use our athleticism and kind of put pressure on the opponent, so to speak, and just kind of be aggressive and not necessarily intimidate, but just kind of be relentless on trying to get to that net and make the other opponent hit shots and be the more aggressive team. And so that's how we grew up playing. Hey, we're gonna even serve and volley. We teach our kids to serve and volley and come to the net. I haven't done that as much on the girls' side, but the boys' side we've always served and volleyed and come to the net and kind of got to the net right away, and kind of put that pressure, like I said, on our opponents. And that's a big key to the success we've had, specifically in doubles, is just the aggressiveness that we've been able to teach and get our kids to buy into. Height, but Plymouth, you don't have a lot of kids come through and tennis is their number one sport. And maybe sometimes eventually it ends up being their number one sport or their only sport, but we've 75 or more % of the kids we've ever had come through have been a basketball first or a something else sport first, and basketball seems to be a big one, or volleyball with girls or whatever, but or even maybe some baseball. That baseball was first day. I don't know if it can come back out, but for tennis and some of that hand-eye coordination stuff kind of pays off in tennis, but we make it work, and even a lot of those kids have even maybe had more success tennis-wise than they have in their other sport by the time it was all said and done, even with the limited amount of time that they've maybe invested in it, as opposed to some other sports. But we make it work for sure, and we'll definitely take those athletes as well, even if it's a second sport or something. If they want to put some time into it, then we love to have them, and we kind of mold their skills into what we need. So. Well, Mary Beth Hunter was the coach my freshman year of high school, and like I said, I was a lower JV player. So Al Flory was the JV coach, so he was the coach that I had JV-wise, and then Mary Beth stopped coaching the boys after my freshman year. She still continued to coach the girls, I think, for 3 or 4 more years. But I always have to give Mary Beth a hard time because she stopped coaching right when I would have had her specifically as my coach. But I love Mary Beth, and Mary Beth's awesome. But so I had Al Flory as my sophomore through senior year as my coach there.
So what kind of coach was he?
He was very detail oriented. Very his son was on our team, so he was kind of always out at the courts. He was always out in the summer program as well as when Mary Beth was. So he was always kind of around, and always did a nice job of getting kids out there on the courts and putting that time in, and everyone kind of has their own level of intensity and things, and he was intense as well. So, but I just remembered him being very detailed and kind of how he ran practice and wanted to run drills and setting up targets, and this is where we're hitting it, and things like that. So he did a nice job there. Well, I think some other coaches I've had are more intense, but I remember a lot of the detail kind of things that he kind of taught us. Hit the ball this place in this scenario, and kind of drilling and kind of fundamentally just kind of ingraining it in your mind that this is how we do it, or this is where we go, or those kind of things. So combination. Well, you pick up, I think as a coach, you pick up on so many, I've played for, Mary Beth growing up in the summer program, played for Coach Flory, then for 4 years, 3 years as the head coach, and then kind of went off to college and then came back, and then now I've been coaching with Michael Delp as the boys coach for, 15 or so years in some capacity, and then now I'm the head coach for the boys, but then I took over pretty quickly for the girls, after I came back from college. So Neil Hunter was the coach then, and picked up some things from him. And so I've had a lot of really, really good mentors that I've learned a lot of things, and then even my college coaches and things. And so it hasn't just been one person, but just a lot of different things from a lot of different people, and it's all been good. And I try to take the best from all of it. And everyone has their own method of coaching and how you want to kind of get a point across. And obviously everyone has their own personalities as well. But try to take different things from different coaches that I've learned and kind of implement those into how I coach. Yeah, she's just the first, figure I can ever remember. Like I said, she was always in charge of the summer program, and even after she stopped coaching on the boys' side, she was still involved in the summer program and helping out. And just have nothing but positive things to say about Mary Beth. I mean, she's one of my all-time favorite people for sure. And it's pretty crazy how at a younger age kind of got influenced by her so positively, and then when I was even a coach and she wasn't even coaching anymore, she was always kind of around watching and things and kind of following the progress of the team. And she was the secretary at the high school, so I'd still see her even though she wasn't the coach, and assistant athletic director as well. And then kind of went off to college and kind of stayed a little in the loop, but you're kind of in your own loop when you're away at college, and then kind of came back in the summers and kind of still around team tennis, Wednesday night league, and that she was still around. And then when I kind of ended up coaching on my own, then Neil's Mary Beth's son, and so kind of got influenced, and she was always kind of around the program still, at least if not watching a little bit and things. And then we've had a lot of Mary Beth's grandkids come through. Several of them, so the program that I've been able to coach. So just seeing all aspects of Mary Beth kind of being around the program as a coach for me, or as a summer coach for me, or as a supporter of me as a as a player, or as a coach, and even out supporting her grandkids. And just she never wants to overstep and put herself in a situation you don't want her in, but I always welcome her help, and I've had her out even helping with the program, as I've been the coach, hey, let's have Mary Beth come in and work with the kids on some specific thing that I needed help with. So admitting some deficiencies or whatever, but I know just Mary Beth, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, she's one of the best. I mean, she's in the Hall of Fame, Indiana High School Hall of Fame year. I mean, she's been inducted, 25 years ago or something, and she's still around helping out. And she's even recently, took over organizing our summer program more and stuff, and even doing more and more back in the summer program that she kind of, stopped doing for a while. So I got nothing but respect for Mary Beth and what she's meant to Plymouth and the community and surrounding community. I think she just, regardless of when it was, years ago or even recently, she just always has a desire to help kids get better. And she has a way of pushing you to be your best, but yet encouraging you to let you know that you can be your best. And I think that was something I was just thinking about a couple weeks ago, actually, was just how good of a job that she always does at pushing you to, I wouldn't say your limit, but pushing you to do your best, but then also being that encourager and not being critical while you're doing it. And I think that's a nice mix, because as a coach, there's always that constructive criticism that you need to give your kids, that, hey, we need to get better at this, but then you don't want them to get too down and have that, I don't want to say disbelief, but you don't want to get too down and negative, I can't do it or whatever. But she was just always had the perfect mix of just finding a way to encourage you and motivate you to do your absolute best, but still just be that encourager and almost kind of that number one fan that you had. So yeah, I played a lot more doubles than singles just through high school and stuff, but kind of a mixture of both. And I got to Indiana Wesleyan, and we were not a very strong program at that time, but we were kind of a collection of guys that had all played singles in high school, and no one had a lot of doubles experience. And so we already played doubles a little bit differently than most teams as far as our aggressiveness and like we've talked about. So Actually, and like I said, I was a two doubles player in high school, and I wasn't a great player, but I was a solid high school player, and kind of actually came into college, and I think I played like 5 singles and kind of a variety of doubles, but I even played some one doubles matches, which is kind of weird to say, like, hey, you moved up to a college program. They must have been pretty bad, but I kind of had some of those fundamentals of doubles that kind of helped me, I thought. And my coach was like, man, you can really volley well, and you move forward and take that ball really well, and it's kind of like a lot of coaches just don't teach that kind of stuff. They play doubles where they play one up, one back, or just kind of not as aggressively, and I did really well in kind of like our challenge matches because I was the more kind of had that style that I had always practiced and serving and volleying and things like that. And nobody else served and volleyed, and kind of ultimately kind of some of my skills weren't as good as they maybe should have been or whatever to play one doubles, but I played about half the year, about a third half the year my freshman year at one doubles, which I don't know, I would say kind of impressive, but like I said, our team wasn't that strong, but we had definitely some better singles players than me for sure. But I ended up kind of playing actually some of all 3 double spots. We were kind of looking for different combinations, but 2 and 3 doubles as a freshman, and we were we were the worst team in our conference my freshman year, just barely. And then my sophomore year I moved up a little bit. I think I want to say 4 singles and 2 doubles, something like that, consistently all year, and we beat the team that was the next, so we weren't the worst team. We beat the team we almost beat the year before, Grace, and then actually competed really well with a lot of the teams in our conference, but we're kind of the second or third to last, I want to say, still, but progressively getting a little better, and part of that's just getting better recruits in and things like that, and putting some time in and getting better. And my junior year we had gotten a couple other better recruits in. We got a kid from Poland that came in, actually came in with our coach. Our other coach had left, and we had a new coach come in, and actually Bill May, who was a longtime Plymouth person. Actually, it was kind of a weird how it worked out, but he was the coach at Huntington and lived in Marion, which is where Indiana Wesleyan is, and then Indiana Wesleyan was kind of looking for a coach, and he moved over from Huntington to Indiana Wesleyan, which is a great transition for him because he already lived in Marion. But he was a manager, I believe, on the '82 state championship basketball team in Plymouth. So it was kind of a weird kind of coincidence how that all happened. And oh, you're from Plymouth, and so we knew a lot of the same people and everything. Of course, I was not even 2 years old or whatever when '82 state championship team, but we had a lot of familiar people that we both knew, and things about the community that we kind of could reflect on and things. But and then just a doubles player my junior year in college, and our team had progressively got a lot better. I think we finished second my junior year in our conference, so we had made a huge jump with getting a recruit and put some extra time in and things like that, and kind of got it a little bit more of an off-season program commitment to kind of getting better as far as playing in the off-season, and then by the time my senior year came around, we got even another recruit or 2 in, and I actually found myself out of the lineup. I was still part of the team, but I was kind of the first alternate actually in singles and doubles, so I was like our 7th best singles player and kind of next best doubles player. We played 6 singles and 3 doubles, so kind of our 7th best. I kind of rotated in at 3 doubles some, but kind of found myself kind of on the outside looking in there, but ended up being the only senior on our team, even though I wasn't in the lineup. So I had a lot of positives about kind of just, again, kind of we talked about before with the team first kind of mentality, and could have been easy to just quit. I don't want to be a part of this anymore, but I love just being a part of the team and the team aspect, and we just had an awesome year that year, and like I said, part of it comes with just getting the right guys in and the right level of guys in, but we made the national tournament. We made a national tournament my junior year. I don't remember which one, but we made the actual NAI national tournament my senior year, so that was pretty awesome that we got to go to Georgia and play in that, and kind of participate in that. So had a lot of a lot of success as a team, but not maybe me individually. But
was that tough for you?
It's always, going back even to the high school kind of. High school was a little bit easier because you're still you're still in the top 7 lineup. Whereas in the college scenario I was in, I wasn't in the lineup. But I knew, our coach had a conversation with me, and this is what's best for the team. And even I was in the mix for 3 doubles, which still to this day I feel like maybe I should have been in there. But I don't have any ill will or whatever resentment towards our coach or anything. But it's just kind of the way it worked out. And but I got in a lot of matches as well where we'd won the match. We were up 5-1 or 6-0 or something after singles. Sometimes they play the singles first, depending on the scenario. Usually it's doubles first, but we got quite a bit of different matches in. I got to play probably about half the matches my senior year anyway, even though I wasn't in the lineup. So got a lot of experience that way, or exhibition matches or whatever. But I just have always, like I said, just enjoyed the process of the team, and it's not easy. And even as a coach, I've had that scenario as a high school player where you're not playing where you want, but you're still in the lineup. And then I've also had the experience as a college player where you worked 3 years and were in the lineup, and then you're not in the lineup as a senior, which is your most important, time, or so to speak, and where you're supposed to be thriving and whatnot. And I don't feel like I ever kind of pouted or moped or whatever. I just maybe had that disappointment, but you move on, and so I feel like when I talk to kids now, I feel like those have been 2 great things that I've been through, personally, where I've tried to kind of take the high road and kind of keep that positive attitude, and hey, this is what's best for the team. And so I feel like maybe that gives me a little bit of I've been through this before. I know where you're coming from. I know you're disappointed, but this is what's best for the team. Like I said, whether it's the kid's going to still be in the top 7 lineup, for a high school team, or whether they're going to be in the, not quite in the top 7, maybe, but still get a varsity letter or whatever. But just
you got a little insight.
Yeah.
Share with the kids if they go through disappointing.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's never easy, almost every single season. You have a kid that really feels like they deserve to be there, and maybe in a lot of scenarios could be playing there. Or on a lot of the teams that we play against, just they could be in their top 7, but they just can't make ours. Or it's just, sometimes in doubles you just got to have combinations that work together a little bit better. Or you hate to say it, but personalities sometimes take a little bit of effect there. I feel like as a coach you should be able to play with anybody, but there's always those, I think that so-and-so may just play a little bit better with that person, or maybe this person returns better on this side and this person returns better on this side when you're playing doubles, and so I think they're going to play better together, and something like that. So I try to factor all those things in. But I think singles you got to be more patient. Doubles, you can afford to be a little bit more aggressive and maybe a little bit more inconsistent, but if you can put balls away. So traditionally we've had some of our better athletes that haven't put as much time in, just play doubles just because that's kind of the style that we play. And singles, honestly, maybe even some of our mentally toughest kids play singles just because it's tougher to play. And you're out there by yourself on an island sometimes. It's harder to hide your inefficiencies, inadequacies, whatever. You're out there by yourself. It's hard to kind of hide what you don't do well. And you also don't have a lot of time to kind of get frustrated and upset about losing a point. You got to turn around and get ready to play the next one. In doubles, it's so much easier. You got a partner there with you. It's about getting the best 7-player team on the court that you can, and you're also looking at what maybe some other teams may have as far as their strengths, and like I said, from Mary Beth to Coach Flory to Michael Dope, who I've coached with for years, to Neil Hunter, to me, it's always been team first, and we've never kind of been there, hey, we're just gonna punt the season, we're gonna put our 2 best players in doubles just so they can make it to state or something. We've had some kids make it to state, but it was because that's how we wanted to play our lineup to give ourselves the best chance to win as a team, and that's just kind of how it worked out. I didn't have a job yet. Got a degree in graphic design and double major in computer graphics and photography, I guess, but from Indiana Wesleyan, and wanted to do something graphic design wise, and didn't have a job, and planned on coming home and just seeing what happened, and putting out my resume and things. And actually, two of my friends that were both on the tennis team with me, we went and worked at a camp in Maine, actually a summer camp, which is real similar kind of to the Woodcraft camp at CMA. And so the three of us, we thought it would just be a fun thing to do. None of us had jobs, and one of them was graduated with me, and one of them was a year behind, a year younger, so he had another year in college to go. But so the three of us went up to Maine for a couple months and worked at a summer camp and taught tennis for the kids, and had a fun time doing that. Put my resume out there and ended up getting hired at Graphics Unlimited in Bremen. The Erickson family was a family that here in Plymouth, but they own the company over in Bremen, and got in there and had some free time on my hands in between when I was working. And so kind of towards the end of that first fall there, I kind of came out as a volunteer and started helping out, coached out Michael, and just started to like it, and hey, I want to be involved in kind of things. And so in the spring then I was a volunteer coach for Neil Hunter, and Melissa Shanks was a JV coach at that point. And kind of just at that point you're kind of like, I'd always grown up in Plymouth, and it's such an awesome community, and I loved athletics and just die hard whatever. And not that I was like dead set 100% on coming back to Plymouth, but when I did, this is awesome. I love being back and kind of getting back into the community and involved, and it was a way that pretty easy way for me to get involved and doing something that I enjoyed doing and helping out. And next year I was back. I ended up being the assistant coach for the girls my second year then. Took over for Melissa Shanks, and then still as a volunteer for the boys. And then the year after that, I was the assistant coach for 1 year, and then took over as the head coach the next year. So pretty quick into it. I would have been 24 then when I took over as the head coach for the girls, and been in that capacity ever since. And then I want to say a year or two after that, then I took over as the assistant coach for boys. So Coach Ben Weymouth was the boys assistant coach for tennis at that point, and I took over for him, and kind of then was in that capacity, I think, for whatever it was, 12 or 13 years, maybe, something like that, until I just took over the boys here before last season. So. Oh, pretty nerve-wracking. We had a very strong team coming back, and a lot of really good players, and only a couple seniors, but two really good seniors. And I do kind of have some good memories specifically of that year. We won conference, and Allie Neidlinger was our one singles player. Aaron Dunning was our other senior that was in the top 7 as a one doubles player. And then Heidi Kaiser was a junior, one doubles player with Aaron. And we had some younger kids in filling out the other spots, but ended up making it. It was the first time we had won regional in I don't know how many years. I mean, a long time, I think. And we had won some when Mary Beth was the coach before, but we had gotten so close, 2 or 3 years before that in a row, we had gotten really, really close and hadn't gotten the regional. And we got the regional my first year, which you could say, oh, it was the coaching or whatever, just how it worked out. But we had some really good players too, and actually made it all the way to the finals of the semi-state and lost to Munster 3-2. A real close match with Munster, and Munster ended up getting runner-up in the state that year. So it was a pretty awesome. Now the format has changed with state, where they have 8 teams at state now. So we went to the semi-state that year and won the first match in the semi-state, and then lost to Munster in the finals of the semi-state. But if we would have won that match, then we would have been in the top 4 in the state. But we kind of finished in the top 8 in the state and had a really good run there at the end. And so got a lot of really good memories, and even kind of reminiscing, I guess that's a better word for it, here lately. We've had a few good years here. We got back and got the regional championship again here recently, but it had been over 10 years or whatever since we had won. I don't even remember that much back then. I don't think my thought has changed a whole lot. I feel like I'm a little bit older and wiser in things now, and know a little bit better ways to do things. But I had a lot of good support even back then. With Neil. Neil was still around helping me out when I needed help, and Mary Beth was around, and Michael Delp was the boys coach, and so I had a ton of support in helping me kind of go through those moments. And I do specifically remember we had a match where we had a kid, girl was missing for SATs on a Saturday morning or something, and then we had a girl that was injured, and what do I do in this scenario? You gotta change your lineup or whatever. So I'm going through all sorts of, what do I do? What do I do? Just stressing over it. And as a coach, you just, I don't know. I feel like I probably mellowed out a little bit too over the years. It's just like tennis really isn't as important as you make it out to be sometimes. Like when you deal with loss in your family or just different things that happen in life, life just, things happen, and you just, oh man, maybe that decision I made on the about our tennis lineup wasn't as important as I made it out to be when you're really looking at the big picture of things. And I think that's the big thing, at least the last, we've had a lot more success the last few years, at least as far as winning the regional and things like that. It's just kind of like you just have a big picture of things, and hey, there's more important things than winning or losing a specific tennis match. I'm not going to remember that random tennis match in the middle of the conference season in 10 years, But, you remember a lot of the other things that are maybe not as important at the time, but, just kind of how you treat people and kind of that kind of, not that I've ever feel like I've treated people badly, but just kind of those are some other things that kind of come into mind, here as I kind of get older and wiser, that some of those things, you always still remember though winning the regional championship and some of those things and the high that you get on those things. And because you invest, every season you invest so much into it during the season, but it's also that time you put in the off season and in the summer and the 90-degree and humid days in the summer and some of those things, which Michael Delp can attest to, and Mary Beth more than me because I'm not around much in the summer program. But just as a player, you kind of have that recollection of kind of just what all it takes, and it's not just doesn't just happen by accident, and there's a lot that goes into it. So but every year is kind of you just invest a lot, and well, and you're kind of, you're on the same team. You're in a different coaching or, player, different capacity, different role or whatever, but you're on the same team, working towards the same goal. And like I said, there's some tough love involved in it, but you're on the same team and you got the same goals in mind. You want to, get that sectional, get that regional, get that conference championship or whatever it may be, or win that big match. And kind of when you're doing it together and kind of have that team kind of concept and thought behind it, hey, we're doing this together. And, for years, like I said, all my mentors have done awesome, but we all, for years in our boys program, we've always said together, when we break in the huddle, we're doing it together. So it's just in a tennis aspect where it's so individualized and you can move on individually and you're on an individual court either with another person or by yourself. It's kind of, there's a lot of that kind of individual aspect of it, but I feel like all of my coaches that I've had and even as I've kind of progressed as a coach, I've tried to do so many more things to just kind of stress that it's not about the me, it's about the we, and we're going to do this together. And it's so much even, you remember the individual, like, hey, I won that conference championship. I still remember winning the conference championship my senior year, individually, but we didn't win as a team. and I would have much rather, won as a team. So you remember kind of those individual highlights, but you remember hey, we won that sectional championship, and that year we weren't supposed to, there was a year, we maybe weren't even supposed to when I was in high school, and, we got a sectional, and that was when we went to sectional at Culver Academy, and I believe we had lost to them the week before and turned around and beat them in the sectional, and that was a pretty awesome kind of moment there where you kind of did it together, and hey, we accomplished something that we really wanted to get, we really wanted to do, so. Well, I think one of the biggest things is, I'm not married, I don't have kids, and and so not only do I kind of live vicariously through my kids sometimes, like it kind of brings back some of those memories and maybe, hey, let's do something I wasn't able to do or whatever, or I'm going to push you guys to new limits or new heights or whatever, but they're kind of my family. I mean, I have a family that I love and brothers and, a parent and things like that, nieces and nephews. But as far as my family, I commit a lot to tennis, and I know other coaches have to sacrifice a lot of that time with their families, and their team is still their family, but it's kind of a second family, and my tennis teams are kind of my main family sometimes as far as the time, and you just commit so much. I guess I give coaches a lot of credit that have families and they have to sacrifice sometimes, and hopefully their kids understand that maybe it's not something that benefits them, but it's something that the coach enjoys doing and helping other people out and being an influence on other people. But I think that's the big one, is just kind of family. And even in tennis, we always try to make it a family, and it's always been kind of a family atmosphere, and you're part of a family when you're out here. And even a lot of, as a coach for me, I don't know how many sets of siblings I've had come through, either two different sisters come through, whether on the same team or not, or further apart in age, but just we've had so many families that have had all their kids come through, boys or girls, and it's just I think just the whole thought of family, and like I said, that's the biggest thing, and just making it a priority to kind of to care about people, I guess, and I hope that I'm able to show people that I care about them. I don't know that I do that the best all the time, because sometimes you still get wrapped up in the wins and losses, unfortunately, but we're trying to win and lose as a team, and do it together as a family as well, and you learn life lessons when you play sports. Just it's some of it's going to be downs, it's not always going to be ups. And you learn how to kind of overcome adversity, and I don't know how many times over the years we've had a player that's lost to somebody the first time and come back and beat them the second time they played them, and just you love to see that from your kids, just kind of overcoming that adversity and kind of pushing over that hump, and just determination, and so.